If I can, shh, if I can, if you can find a seat, please take a seat. Mr. Clerk, what is before this body?
Good afternoon, sir. We have 9 items on the agenda. Would you like me to go ahead and read those items into the record?
Please go ahead.
Item number 1 is public comment on proposed requirements for commercial cannabis activity in the city of Los Angeles. Item number 2 is communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Ms. Kat Packer as the permanent executive director of the Cannabis Department. Item number 3. Item number 3 is a communication from the mayor relative, items number 3 through 7 are communications from the mayor relative to the appointments of Mr. Robert L. Ahn, Ms. Rita Villa, Mr. Philip Mercado, Ms. Misty Wilkes, and Mr. Victor Naro to the Cannabis Commission for various terms ending. Item number 8 is City Attorney Report and Ordinance relative to amending the Los Angeles Administrative Code to revise campaign communications disclaimer font requirements. And item number 9 is Resolution Coret Cedillo O'Farrell Rue and the CLA2 report relative to including in the city's 2017-18 state legislative program support for Senate Bill 424 to increase funding to promote and enhance the environmental literacy of all California students.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I do not see any cards at all on item 8 and 9. Why don't we take those items on consent? So where it relates to item 8, I suggest we adopt the city attorney's report and the draft ordinance. And on item 9, we will adopt the CLA report and resolution. So without objection from the members of this, the other members of this committee, so ordered. Now, I'm joined today by my colleagues and dear friends, Mr. Marquise Harris-Dawson, Mr. Jose Huizar. Before we begin, just let me say this. I can't say enough about a lot of the people that are here today and about my colleagues that are sitting beside me, because we've been doing this for quite a while. We've been having hearings on this issue for over a year. The majority of the hearings that we've had have been in the evening. We've been at Southwest Community College. We've been in the Valley. We've been here. We've been at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center in the district. So we've done everything that I believe we've done everything that we could to try to make it convenient for the people that care about this issue to come and to speak. And I can't thank the members, and I can't thank you guys enough for being part of this process. We have come a long way to the point where we have issued a set of draft regulations, given you time to give comment. We'll get more comment from you on that today. This council and committee is already on record, I think, demonstrating that we're handling this issue as adults, realists, and pragmatic people. We are going to aggressively pursue the concept of establishing the Los Angeles Municipal Bank so that we would be able to afford your industry an opportunity to have banks that you could be affiliated with, because we just think that the industry is here and we should be adult in the way that we deal with this issue. I have sent a letter to the planning department suggesting that we need to issue licenses or permits, and I hope that today this committee will vote to send that same recommendation to the planning department So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that we've come a long way. Also on the agenda today, other than receiving additional comment from you, we're going to make history today as this committee interviews the individual that will be the first ever executive director to run a cannabis division department within the city of Los Angeles. It's historic. We will also be engaged in selecting based on the mayor's recommendations, and I have to salute the mayor, put in a lot of thought and has given us good people to choose from. But we're also going to have a conversation with the individuals that are going to be the commissioners of this department. So not only does that show that we're serious, it shows that it is our goal to be up and operational by the first of the year. So with that said, we're going to do, and I think we have a track record, Mr. Weezar and Mr. Harris Dawson, on hearing just about everybody that comes to speak before this council. So we're going to try to do that as well. You came here to say something, we want to hear about it. So we will do the very best that we can to try to accommodate everybody. So what I would like to do, members, at this point, is why don't we start off, we'll take about 10 quick speakers, and then we'll ask Kat Packard to come to the front table, and we'll have a conversation with her about the executive director's job. So I want to start off with Jim Bickhart from Councilman Koretz's office, Rigo from the Labor, UFCW. I thought I saw him earlier. Ariel Clark. See, now this ain't fair. No. I knew Tomir would be here. Alexis, D'Angelo, why don't you guys come? Okay, Mr. Bickhart, you start.
Yes, thank you. Councilmember Koretz asked me to speak tonight with regard to a few points. First, he wants to support the kind of changes in the draft ordinance that Council President Wesson made in his recent letter. Also, he wants to, even though it's not before you tonight, he wants to emphatically call on the council to make sure the vestiges of Measure D's limited immunity concept that was included in the Planning Department's zoning ordinance draft are never approved, and that those kinds of detailed regulations have no place in the zoning code. Also on your agenda are two motions authored by Mr. Koretz, one calling on the city to allow businesses accused of arguably harmless errors in their efforts to comply with our regulations to be able to cure those errors without fear of being victimized by aggressive prosecution. Too many cannabis businesses have recently been or are currently being subjected to such prosecutions, even though they have acted in good faith to fix the problems, including problems caused by bureaucratic or enforcement errors on the city's part. Then there's the proposal for creating a cannabis business registry. This is about holding the industry's good actors harmless until they have a chance to try to obtain
Okay, Jim, you
permits.
got to wrap it up.
Okay. Anyway.
All right. And let me get Mr. Valdez. If I can get to you later to finish it, I will, and you can submit the letter to the sergeant. Yes, sir.
Good evening, President Wesson, Councilman Harris Dawson, Councilman Weezar. My name is Rigo Valdez. I'm Vice President at UFCW Local 770. Proudly represent dispensary workers in many communities throughout Los Angeles, and we're committed to making sure cannabis workers have quality jobs. Today, we commend the Council's leadership in creating the Los Angeles Department of Cannabis Regulation and welcome Kat Packard as the first executive director, and welcome the new appointees to that commission. UFCW 770 also supports the recent initiative to create the public bank to serve the industry. Beyond these developments, we remain remains a lot of urgent work to be done around regulations themselves. We urge you to conform with Measure M. We like what you just said regarding issuing licenses. We believe that they'll lead to good jobs. We strongly recommend that strong regulations will provide equality of opportunities, good jobs, transparent, accountable operators in Los Angeles.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, please identify yourself.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ariel Clark. I'm chairwoman of the Los Angeles Cannabis Task Force, and I want to thank you all so very much for all your work on these issues. Thank you, Andrew, for all your work as well. We're so excited about the appointment of Kat Packer. It really shows that the city of Los Angeles cares about creating a thriving and well-regulated industry. Thrilled to hear about the municipal bank. So happy about all the work we've been able to do. Thank you for listening to us over these last many years. A couple of points that we wanted to make. It's really incredibly important that businesses have provisional licenses and the ability to have some sort of safe harbor as we are figuring things out. I'm so glad that it looks like we're looking forward to, be ready for applying for the state by January 1st, but those folks like cultivation, delivery manufacturers really need this sort of provisional licensing, as well as a very wide door for many operators to walk through the social equity program that also benefits veterans, women, other people of color, folks with different sorts of backgrounds, so we can really have a diverse community and a diverse industry that reflects LA.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much. My name is Tomer Graciani. I'm here on behalf of the Southern California Coalition and the people of LA. I have to say, after reading these proposed regulation, I am both surprised and a little frustrated by what we saw. For about a year and a half, we've been coming here and having hearings about licensing for the industry and how Proposition D was a failure that we have to fix. And then we go to a meeting about a few weeks ago with the Department of City Planning, and over there we see Phyllis. I hate to call you by name, but you represent the department, and she said that Proposition D was a success, and the new regulations are modeled based on that. And I just don't see how that works, where the people that wrote Prop D say that it doesn't work, and the people that are writing the regulations say it does. I also saw that it completely did not mention on-site consumption or public consumption, something that we've discussed here, and I know that Kat Packer is also an issue that is dear for our heart. Thank you.
All right. Now let's be clear on this. We're not going to be able to do everything in one fell swoop. I think what this committee has demonstrated that we are open and we are receptive. And so this is going to be a work in progress too. And things are going to have to change, and we're going to be willing to listen to you, properly vetted, and we're going to do the best we can to make sure that we have the best industry in the United States of America, period. I don't think I can give you a bigger commitment than that. Next speaker, please. Then I think this is Thomas, Patrick, is that O'Shaughnessy or something? You guys write like me. Ruben Honig, and Jared Kilo. Yes.
Hi, my name is Alexis D'Angelo. I'm the chairwoman of Women Grow Los Angeles and the CEO of Calagia. I do want to say thank you so much for all the hard work that you have done over the last year. It really has paid off, and it really shows that you are here for us. And thank you so much for all the hard work that Kat's done. I'm very proud that she's actually been nominated for this position. I do want to point out that it is very important that the social equity part, that we also include all sectors. That includes the LGBT community, and I know that that's really important, as well as we need to also make sure that we have the safety there for everyone, including all different demographics and people in the workplace, from the trimmers all the way through the executives, that we have equal pay. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Please come forward. Can you pull that down, or do we need I think you got it.
I think we're okay.
All right.
Thomas Patrick O'Shaughnessy, Los Angeles County Democratic Party Controller. I will just read the second of our two-paragraph statement. Los Angeles is in a position to be the leader in practical regulations of this new industry, and we must accept our responsibility in that role. The citizens of this great city voted unprecedentedly to legalize their recreational use of cannabis, and as their elected representatives, the City Council has a duty to fully recognize this fact and grant businesses their licenses to operate lawfully under accordance with city guidelines and with the voters' collective support. We are truly impressed and thankful for all your efforts and on our behalf. Thank you.
No, thank you. Next speaker. Yes, sir.
My name is Ruben Honig. I'm the Executive Director of the Los Angeles Cannabis Task Force. Good evening, Council President Wesson, Honorable Rules Committee. Thank you for all the work that you guys have been doing and the time that you've been taking to have this conversation. I know it's been a long time, and we've been doing this for a long time, and appreciate it. And thank you so much for that letter last week. It really took care of some major issues that we were dealing with, and it really puts the industry at ease. I want to talk about a few other things as well. Number one, the social equity program needs to be prioritized. It needs to be higher up in the regulations. This is where we're really going to be an example for the rest of the world to see, and it's really important that the industry, and that you guys do that. Below that, there needs to be a provisional licensing program for non-retail businesses, including delivery. These businesses need to have a pathway forward as well, and they need to be protected from enforcement during this process. These businesses are still getting killed, and it's really, really difficult to operate in the shadows and be in this place as well. We also need to have sensitive uses down to 600 feet. In line with state law, there is no reason why the city should be going to 800 feet, and that's much more stiff than the state calls for. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so after Jared, Stephanie Landa, Jay Moon, and Reggie, is it Pendergast? Well, just come on. Jared, it's on you now.
Good evening. Thank you for having this hearing. This is great. I'd like to talk first about some of the public hearings that are set forth to have for Prop D as priority licensing. I feel that businesses that have been operating for 10 years inside this space, I feel that they should be judged on the merits of their community connection and the quality of their business. So I feel like there needs to be a timeline that allows public hearings to not be as the initial process for the initial permit holders. I feel like we have operated good businesses in this time, and once good rules and regulations are set forth for these businesses, we will be judged on the merits of those connections to the actual regulations. One other thing about the banking, after 15 years of being in this industry, I've lost 9 bank accounts. The last time I lost a bank account for my dispensary, 57 people lost their insurance and lost the safety and security of them being able to go pay their bills with online purchasing. I put the safety and security of my business at risk by having an AP report show how taxes are collected, and I really appreciate Wesson. I really appreciate you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate your support
Hey,
for our
well, you
banking.
were saying good stuff about me. I was going to let you talk all night, but since you cut your own self short.
Give me another minute. I'm ready.
Go on, Jared. Go. That rarely happens. Hi, identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Landa, and I'm in remission from having cancer and got cured with oil, and I still take oil. And I would like the regulations to include having 6 cancer patients grow together like the state regulation says. Thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you. Next.
Yes, good evening. My name is Jay Moon, and I want to thank you. You've been listening to us, and I appreciate that. My company is Village Flora. I would qualify as a micro business. I grow and manufacture infused cannabis oil suppositories. The reason I make it into suppositories is we can deliver a high dose of medicine quickly, and the patient doesn't get loaded, impaired, or stoned. We use it because it works. We can bring 12 to 90 grams a month on board for a client, and that's the type of dosing that Rick Simpson practices and that I practice as well. You can well imagine it gets real expensive quickly, even at my prices, which are less than half of what a dispensary charges. And I honestly, I don't have the money to buy the carbon equipment, reduction, solar or LED lighting or any of that stuff. And even if I could meet those standards, my patients can't afford a 40% price hike. That's what's going to be required to pay the taxes. I'm asking you to include in the ordinance a provision that would allow a care provider to grow for 6 cancer patients without having to have a license. It's called for in the state regs.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm assuming you're Reggie. Hold tight. Now I'm looking for Jennifer Pagliaro, Christina Marsh, Beth Osterman. That's a lot of names. Allison Adams. Is it Stanley Kimmel? Yes, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, everybody here. My name's Reggie Pinhai Pinuelas. I'm a golf professional, father, a son, a mentor. I'm also a cancer patient. I was diagnosed in 2016, third-stage colorectal cancer, and doctors told me I wouldn't make it to Christmas. I proved them all wrong because I decided to go another route and take my life into my own hands and not do any chemo radiation and find a natural way to do this. And I'm asking you tonight to keep this provision to match the state's provisions, which is what we all voted for, and not to change it too much. I understand everybody wants to make money at doing this. But the reason why I'm alive is because I'm able to afford my medicine, my suppositories, my THC pills, everything that I use, the combination, my alternative treatments that I've decided to take on myself has got me here. I wouldn't be here today if I would have listened to Western medicine. I'm sorry, but I'm here to prove that there's another way to do this. And I ask all of you, by the grace of God, to please open up your minds, see things a little bit different. This is 2018. It's time for a change, and you're all behind that.
Thank you. Thank you. And keep on keeping on, Reggie. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Pagliaro. I'm 33 years old. At 31 years old, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. I did everything the doctors at Cedars-Sinai told me to do. They neglected a nodule in my lung, which led to me having stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. I switched all of my treatments, switched my doctors, and mainly went on cannabis oil. If the prices go up on this, what they're suggesting, I will not be able to afford to live anymore. This cannabis is keeping me alive every day of my life. The chemotherapy does not break the blood-brain barrier. THC in cannabis does. This last scan in my brain went from this big to not there, and they don't know why. I'm here because of this. In January, they said I'd be dead in 6 months. That day was July 27th. That was 6 months, and I'm here today in front of you with 90% remission in my body.
Bless you. Please. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Christina Marsh, and I, too, am a pancreatic cancer survivor. I survived.
Oh, wait a minute. Give her time again. So I have 2 people on one card. Is that what it is?
She's going to speak after me.
Oh, no, I got it. It just confused me. Okay. So I got it now.
Okay.
Miss Marsh, go ahead.
I'm a pancreatic cancer survivor, and I've also co-founded a company called Loki Lotion. We're a topical company. We outreach to your homeless community, to our homeless community, to our vets every day. We cannot afford these licensings. We are a small business. We are a compassion business. We took Prop 215 seriously, and we outreach. And these regs are made for large corporations. We are a small company doing great works in our city, and we would like to be recognized and have laws that account for my Native American status and our social equity that needs to happen in this city.
Thank you
very much.
Beth.
Yes.
All right, you guys.
Hi, I'm Beth Osterman. I'm co-founder with Loki Lotion. And my big concern moving forward with regulation, with everything that's happening in the city, is that we have education needs to happen. We find every day with what we do is that people don't understand cannabis and don't understand what we're doing. We're a small community, and for mainstream going legal, I think people need to be educated and understand what cannabis does for us, which is amazing. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and it's helped me stay sober for a very long time, and I just want to thank you again for all your hard work, and that's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Allison Adams. I'm an attorney. I've spent the past 4 years defending unjustly accused Proposition D collectives whose transgressions were small, whose transgressions were things that happened before Proposition D passed, like the location being too close to a church that arrived subsequent to them being there, or like running into a kerfuffle with 2011 or 2012 taxes. My collective that I represent is actually the one that Mr. Koretz through Jim alluded to. It is very important to protect nonprofit medical marijuana collectives as well as allowing for controlled, safe access to recreational. And I think that the city needs to understand that patients must be protected. I'm a patient myself, and I need my medicine too.
Thank you. Are you Mr. Kimmel?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so
Good
after you, well, just hold tight.
Yes.
I need Adam Spiker. Is this Seth Gentleman and a Seth Hilsebeck? If you make your way. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Stan Kimmel. I'm here to talk about two elements on the agenda. Item 1, S7, which is the Koretz motion that includes ICO-compliant collectives. Prop D is not the first effort the city made to address marijuana. The ICO was the first effort. The ICO was a promise to people that if they registered, they would operate legally. They have been treated under Prop D as if they were not legal. It's important to pass the Koretz motion S7 because it recognizes the promise LA made to the ICOs and gives them equity as well. The other issue is the Koretz motion S6. It's simply true that bureaucrats make mistakes. S6 exists to give people an opportunity to cure non-substantive administrative defaults under Prop D. It's only fair.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. Spiker. Yes, sir.
How you guys doing? You're certainly hearing about a lot of the issues tonight, and we appreciate certainly the leadership that you all have provided, getting the regulation right. I wanted to touch on the provisional licensing. I think it's by far the most unresolved issue to date. Just considering that building and safety approval, potential fire code approval, and also public hearings being involved in the application process will take considerable time, given the amount of applications you're going to face. The city's quickest pathway to enforcement under Prop M, in my opinion, is truly partnering with the cannabis industry and offering a provisional license process in the interim as soon as possible to solve the issues of the illicit market and social equity participation. If the city allows a pathway to provisional protection and cuts it off January 1st, we can then start enforcing against those that are not registered under the strict Prop M criteria. $20,000 a day fines will force landlords to get rid of the illicit operators, allowing for new properties to be eligible for applicants in the city that might be more.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Seth Gentleman, and I'm here to talk about provisional licenses as well. Provisional licenses need to be issued immediately because every time the city announces it produce a new cannabis ordinance, enforcement against cannabis businesses increases dramatically. Unless law enforcement has a warrant issued by a judge for criminal behavior, businesses waiting for licensure should not be law enforcement targets. Law enforcement raids have targeted businesses that were compliant with the ordinances enacted shortly after the raids occurred. The city needs to provisionally license businesses as soon as possible, either through a registry or by simply issuing temporary licenses so that law enforcement can identify legitimate operators. A registry or provisional licensing would allow the city to determine how much land the cannabis industry requires and how many entities wish to be licensed. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, good to see you again.
It's good to see you again, sir. Thank you for having us here this evening. It's great to see the big turnout tonight. As you can see, we are very serious about all of this. Again, my name is Seth Hilsebeck. I'm CEO of Quality Concentrates, And I'm here to talk about the licenses for manufacturing involving volatile solvents. That was kind of lumped into a certain section that wasn't going to be allowed. But I think that it's very important for LA to kind of move forward with this and allow that type of license. Volatile solvents are widely used for many, many types of other manufacturing and other industries. Some of those are like high fructose corn syrup, decaffeinated coffee, things like that. When you do these processes according to OSHA and FPA guidelines, this is a very, very safe process. All of these guidelines were already set up in the state guidelines already, so you have a very, very nice blueprint to go from. The city's refusal to issue volatile manufacturing licenses precludes the uses of butane, alcohol, CO2, and even water. This means patients will suffer as the remaining processes are inefficient and expensive.
Hey, Seth, also, Seth.
Yes, sir.
The letter that we sent to planning will address that issue as well. So that's
correct.
So we hear you and we try to make adjustments when we agree.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is we're going to hold off on regular public comment for a bit. Mr. Clerk, I'd like to take up item 2, and if you could read item 2 again.
Item number 2 is a communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Ms. Kat Packer as the permanent executive director of the Cannabis Department.
All right, Ms. Packer, would you please come forward and sit at the center table? Okay, all right. I have 2 cards on this item, so I'm going to ask Sarah Armstrong and Daniel Sosa to come forward. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. I am Sarah Armstrong, Director of Industry Affairs for Americans for Safe Access and the Policy Chair for the Southern California Coalition. The Southern California Coalition and Americans for Safe Access heartily endorses Kat as your first director. We have worked with her. We know her to be an intelligent and honorable person, exactly the kind of person that you want in government. This is a great day both for the city and for the community. And I urge you, in the strongest possible terms, to approve her appointment. We stand in strong support of the city, you know that. And we like nothing better than to have people involved in city government who are honorable, hardworking, and competent. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Daniel Sosa. I'm the executive director of Glauca, the Greater Los Angeles Collectives Alliance, which is the collective arm of the Southern California Coalition. I'm here to say that we strongly support Kat Packer's appointment to this position. Thank you very much for giving her this consideration, giving her this opportunity, and giving our industry the opportunity to be represented by someone like Kat. She stands for social equity. She stands for a fair, equitable cannabis industry that works for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so on item 2, I'm closing the hearing, Mr. Clerk. So with that said, I tell you, I think it was the very first hearing that we had, and all of a sudden this person comes up down the center aisle, and I remember being impressed with that person. I had Andrew from my office run out to see who this person was, and that person wound up being you, Ms. Packard. And I'm just, sometimes you really like it when good stuff happens to good people. And I think that you have, in my opinion, all of the skills needed. I think Los Angeles would be the first city to actually hire somebody to oversee a program that understands the program and has experience. I think we would be the very first. I also think that Los Angeles is also sending a very strong message that we take our concern where it relates to social equity seriously. And I'm so happy that the mayor felt that way as well. So what I thought we'd do is maybe have you tell us who Cat Packard is. And then at the end of it, if you could just add on, what can we do? See, we're at this critical stage right now. And not only do we hope that you come in and manage this department based on the rules and regulations that we set, but we also want to use your expertise, your ability to assess what's going on in the industry and advise and guide us as to things that we can do. Because one thing Los Angeles doesn't want to do is make some of the mistakes that we heard Colorado and Washington and Oregon. So after you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe you can give us a clue as to what you think we can do here differently from some of the other states. So with that, the floor is yours.
Thank you and good evening. It's a complete honor to sit in front of you today being considered for the first executive director position within the city of Los Angeles for the Department of Cannabis Regulation. I want to give thanks particularly to this committee as it's shepherded this process to this critical moment that you've recognized. This moment, this appointment, this department is significant. It is a significant moment in history, not just for the city of Los Angeles, but for jurisdictions and communities around the world who have struggled with past cannabis policies. I got involved in cannabis policy reform and drug policy reform because I realized how impactful cannabis policies were. Tonight you'll hear from and have already heard from patients, folks who are concerned about the environment, people who have been formerly incarcerated for this plan, business operators, business hopefuls, all of these different community members coming together to choose a different policy, to choose a better policy, policies that are healthier and safer for our communities. I moved to Los Angeles specifically to change marijuana laws in California. After learning about the past cannabis policies and how impactful they had been to communities of color and low-income communities, I told myself that I have to get involved in this in a very meaningful way. And so I was brought on by the state director of the Drug Policy Alliance to serve as the campaign coordinator for Californians for Responsible Marijuana Reform, social justice-driven campaign in support of marijuana legalization. And it's been an interesting ride, particularly because cannabis policy can be controversial, but I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be. I'd like to lead this conversation within the city responsibly, using science, data, education to drive policy. Through my experience as a campaign coordinator and a policy coordinator focused on the development and implementation of responsible and equitable cannabis policies, I've had a chance to engage with law enforcement, legislators, patients, folks who might not have felt welcome in this room before. The fact that there is a packed room tonight, I think speaks volumes to the type of engagement that this industry, that this community, that folks who have been treated like criminals are ready to have with the city. It is my intention, if I am confirmed, to create this department in a way that serves the community. I'd like for this to be a department of public service. I think that we have to have strong regulatory framework and rules in place. I think that we have to have the tools and resources necessary to fund enforcement. I think that enforcement is absolutely going to be necessary, but it is going to be key that enforcement is not based on the color of one's skin. I think that responsible businesses should be licensed, and irresponsible businesses should not have the opportunity to be licensed in the first place. I think that we have to move forward responsibly with education and in a way that prioritizes social justice and that considers social justice at every decision that we make moving forward. You asked in the beginning what jurisdictions have done that maybe they could have done differently. Throughout this process, you had invited regulators from other states to come and be a part of this conversation. What was very disappointing to me is that many jurisdictions have moved forward with responsible regulation without also having a conversation about how we make sure that those communities most impacted by marijuana prohibition have an opportunity to participate. Responsible regulation and a process that prioritizes social equity are the way forward. I am so very honored to be considered for this position, and I look forward to serving the city of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Okay. Now, before I turn it over to my colleagues, we've had an opportunity to see you work in this room, in this environment, with this constituency. One of your challenges is going to be dealing with our neighborhood councils, dealing with our homeowner associations, dealing with our block clubs and our neighborhood watches. How do you think, or have you ever dealt with organizations like that? Because what we're going to have to do is blend. This is going to have to be blended and balanced. So I'm curious as to what makes you believe that you have what it takes to deal with folk that maybe wouldn't make up a favorable room?
I believe that it might just be because of who I am as a person, but I'm a part of multiple communities that don't always see eye to eye. Communities that are often in conflict with one another, communities that are marginalized. I think that through my experiences just dealing with policy and having to consider a variety of different angles and perspectives allows me to have the tools and the network already to start to engage in those conversations in a very meaningful way and to strike a balance between responsible regulation, industry protections, environmental protections, protecting patients, protecting communities, and that's what I intend to do.
You're a lawyer by trade as well, right?
Yes, I have a JD and I have a master's in public policy as well.
From?
The Ohio State University.
Mr. Harris Dawson, do you know who's from Ohio on this committee? I don't think it's Mr. Weezer. Anyway, I want to turn it over to Mr. Harris Dawson for some questions or a statement.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Also very, very excited to be in front of you and to actually be present in this particular moment. I also remember the first committee that you came and testified in. And Mr. President, you don't know this, but I told my staff member, Bernard, to go get in contact with her and to push Andrew out of the way on his way over there.
She was impressive.
You were very, very impressive for that moment, and I especially appreciate you, as I've told you on a number of occasions, because you embody and remember something that's very, very important to me, and I think lots of people in this city in this process, and that is never, ever, ever, ever forgetting. Particularly the black community, because this impacted people of color, yes, but the black community in particular paid an extremely high price for the war on drugs and marijuana policy in particular, both in incarceration but also in addiction. And this policy can be done in a way where that doesn't change. It absolutely can. We had people from other states sit here and tell us that they were actually arresting more people after legalization, certainly more African Americans and Latinos after legalization than they had before. And so I appreciate that you always remember that. I would tell this audience and Mr. President, Kat actually came and talked to every neighborhood council leader in the 8th District, face to face, and not everybody there was in favor. And I think people walked away, one, with a clear understanding, two, feeling like when they had questions or concerns, they could bring them up, and three, that somebody was serious there about dealing with those issues. So we appreciate you for that, and we look forward to working with you in the future. There's a lot of work to be done. I was very disturbed last week, just Tuesday. I was happy to hear it wasn't LAPD, but somebody got arrested in our city for having marijuana. A multimillionaire who was accused of distributing marijuana, I guess to make ends meet. So we're very, very grateful for your service. We want to do everything that we can to be helpful to you. And to Los Angeles and to the mayor, you got a winner here. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Now, from the Ohio-born Jose Huiza.
Start rumors that way, Mr. Wesson. No, I was thoroughly impressed with you as we sat down one-on-one to discuss not only the tremendous responsibility you will have, but the experience and knowledge you have of this subject. And as we discussed, Los Angeles is going to be in the forefront of making not only cannabis regulations work for ourselves, but hopefully we could use ourselves as an example across the country. And so because we are going to be one of the largest numbers of cannabis activity or industry, a lot of eyes are going to be on us, which means a lot of eyes are going to be on you. But as we move this through a legislative process to an implementation process that you will be responsible for, we also discuss the idea of continuing this conversation because, as Mr. Wesson said earlier, this is a work in progress, and it's important that we fix those things as soon as possible that we see that are not working, and we come back and fix them legislatively if we have to. But above all, I've been impressed with your interest in the social equity program as well, which I think needs to be centered to all of this as well as many others. So thank you for this. We look forward to working with you, and I certainly, I think we picked the best one we could. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Ms. Packard, with that said, without objection, I will recommend Ms. Packard's appointment. I would hope that I would have unanimous support of this committee, and it will be heard in council tomorrow at 10 a.m. So, Mr. Clerk, so let it be written, so let it be done. All right. Congratulations. You've been recommended. Okay. All right. What I'm going to do is you may want to stick around a little bit, get to meet some of the commissioners. I'm going to do a couple of more public comment cards at this point, and then are we ready to go here? So we'll do a few of these, and then I'm going to get to the commissioners. Eric, is it Hutstrom? Richard Mansilla? Stephanie Richard? David Greer or Grease? Brian Ross. Please come forward. Zachary Pitts. Okay. Hey, good to see you again.
Thanks for taking the time on this issue again and letting us speak. Mostly I wanted to talk about protecting the existing businesses that operate here. Just in this lag time until permitting happens, I think it's important to make sure that the existing businesses that have been supplying the legal retail market here have some sort of protection while it's getting worked out. It would be a shame for anybody in here who is operating one of these businesses to be the last person arrested for this when we're about to turn this new chapter in it. Really appreciate all the work on this, and the other thing I want to talk a bit about is an issue I know you're passionate about, which is the banking. And everybody here, I think, would love to see the banking issue get resolved for our businesses, all make it safer. 10 seconds, everybody applaud who's into the banking. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello. My name is Richard Mancia. I work for a cultivation business in Los Angeles. Our business is established for a permit pretty soon, and I hope you could figure out a way to protect us from getting shut down between now and when we get a license. This is important to me because I made some dumb and minor mistakes as a kid. I spent a few years in the state system. I was released and met my amazing wife and made a family. Because of my record, no one would take a chance on me. People in the industry didn't judge me for my past. They saw what I could be capable of. And thanks to the cannabis, I have a good paying job and a wife, and I've started a family, and also started a college fund for my kids. But I'm also nervous that every day that I go to work, that I could be arrested and also my job taken from me, and I'm back at, ground zero again. And so, I appreciate all the work that you guys have done for making people like me have another chance and just, work and strive in the industry. Thank you.
We appreciate you. Please identify yourself.
Hello, my name's Stephanie Richard. I'm the Policy and Legal Services Director at the Coalition to Abolish Slavery and Trafficking. We're one of the largest nonprofit organizations directly serving sex and labor trafficking victims in the United States. CAST is here to speak to the connection between human trafficking and the marijuana industry. Human trafficking is a form of modern slavery in which victims are deceived and coerced into providing forced labor or sexual activities for the benefit of their traffickers. The use of human trafficking for labor to be cultivated for cannabis and distributed drugs is a pervasive practice, and it's been documented in the United States and Europe and here in California. So LA City, as it's considering these new regulations, must take steps to prevent it. At a minimum, LA City should require dispensaries, growing locations to post information on human trafficking under California Civil Code 52.6 in order to obtain the certificate of compliance. As well, we request that 20% of the new revenue from taxes and fees generated by cannabis production and sales be allocated for comprehensive.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker. Identify.
My name is David Green. I live in San Pedro, which is by the harbor, and I did a lot of political activity in terms of helping the port truck drivers who are misclassified. And one of the issues, the big issue, is having to do with permits or this kind of limited liability thing. And whenever things are ambiguous, not clear cut, or whenever things are in the shadows, then that's when the bad things happen. And so I think it's in everybody's interest just to make things very clear and very definite that way. Also, too, is that, as Kat was talking about data and the likes, is the city controllers come out with a map of dispensaries. Also, too, is that the controllers made a recommendation, including things helping with the banking and controlling cash and other things along those lines. Kat had talked about, doing this more by science and the likes. There's all the stigma, all the other things associated with this product and the likes. And so it would be really good, I think, if the City Controller's Office was actively engaged in terms of coming up with city measures of city's performance and how we're doing in terms of transition. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Good evening. I'm Brian Ross. I'm an attorney serving the industry. First, I wanted to thank you for all your efforts in thoughtfully balancing so many competing interests, promoting social equity, helping this vibrant industry come out of the gray zone, helping them not lose any competitive advantage that they may have vis-a-vis other cities. And I'd also like to congratulate all the nominees, Kat, Misty, and everyone. Look forward to your leadership. What I want to echo today is the comments of Ariel Clark, Ruben Honig, Adam Spiker, and others, provisional licensing. You talked about getting this industry up and running as inclusively as possible, I believe, and this is the way to do it, by allowing a streamlined application process for all the reasons people already have mentioned tonight, and not with any arbitrary dates or cutoffs, but someone has a compliant location, a good faith intention to comply with all the regulations and the licensing that's coming ahead in the local level and the permanent state level, those people should have a path to a provisional licensure. Thank you.
Thank you. So as Zachary comes up, what is that last name? Raymond? Can't quite make out the first name. Hal Lewis, and Jackie Subek. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Zachary Pitts. I run a delivery service, and I'm also representative of the LA Delivery Alliance. We're at the precipice of an economic revolution here in LA. This is an unprecedented new industry that promises high wages, impressive levels of tax money for the city, and opportunities for those without traditional access to capital. The initial draft of the cannabis ordinance was disappointing because it failed to realize this potential. By merely copying instead of referencing state draft rules, it quickly became outdated mere weeks after its release, not to mention codifying mistakes that could normally be easily corrected in the standard rulemaking process. For instance, as the BMCR was adjusting its rules to allow exciting new innovations in delivery, the draft LA ordinance created a system that shuts out smaller delivery services and punishes any innovation in delivery logistics. In order for this very possible aspiration all of us here want to be realized, we need the City Council to take an ambitious and liberal stance on regulating the industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker. Hi there.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jackie Subek. I am a cannabis advocate and educator. So I just wanted to talk on something that no one else is really going to bring up tonight and just make sure that it gets covered, which is in the proposed regulations, you have proposed the banning of outdoor grow for both personal use and commercial. And I just want to remind you that 58% of voters in California voted yes for adult use legalization back in November, and that the restrictions that you put on it, which are, it would be indoor only, private residence only, and not in a structure where it can be seen. I just want to remind you that Los Angeles homeowners are only about 45%. So they're the only ones actually safe if you put that private residence on there. You can't force people to have to go indoors. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. How many of these hearings have you made?
Almost all.
You mean you missed one? Was I not?
Yeah, I was sick. Sorry.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
good to see you again.
Good to see you, and good to see everybody up there. My name is Hal Lewis. I am an advocate. I am a patient, first and foremost. Yeah. And I have a small nonprofit mutual benefit corporation collective cooperative that helps people that are making their transition out of this life and very sick people. I'd like to make sure that our patients, number one, are taken care of, and I thank you for addressing that at the very beginning. Our patients need to be taken care of through collectives and cooperatives, and we need to make sure that we allow these collectives, cooperatives to be able to be licensed in some form or way. The other thing is education is a big form, and I want to thank Kat on this one too, and thank you for your service so far, and looking forward to the next. Re-educating is the most important thing to me. Re-educating law enforcement the right way in what cannabis is. We're not doing that right now. There's still a stigmatism about us patients, and we need to fix that. We need to fix it through education and re-educating law enforcement, and I thank you for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, said last name Raymond of L.A. Bloom. You here? Come on, I couldn't make out the first name. And Virgil Grant, come on up. Hi there.
Hi, my name is Harmony Raymond. That's the first name, Harmony.
Gotcha.
I am here with the Los Angeles Cannabis Task Force, and I wanted to, discuss current non-dispensary operators, cultivators, manufacturers that operate in the city of LA today. We want to be considered good operators. We are compliant, we pay taxes, we want some sort of protection as well, and we want licensing. So I really wanted to just urge the city to issue some sort of provisional licensing before January 1st. We don't want to operate in the dark. We want to, like I said, we want to be compliant as well. So I think it's very important that the city recognize non-dispensary operators as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And after Virgil, if I could get Brad Rowe, and then I'm going to ask our commissioners to come to the center table. So if I could get Brad to begin making your way to the center, Go right ahead, Virgil.
Good evening. My name is Virgil Grant. I'd like to say thank you to Council President Wesson, Harris Dawson, and Weezar for putting this on this evening. Just like to talk about, when we talk about social equity and licensure, I just need us to understand that the barriers to entry, we need to make sure that they are obtainable for those licensures. Pricing or where they're in areas that aren't so high. We already talked about the felony conviction, but I still want to press upon that as well. Also press upon licensing, how much that may cost, and make sure that it's obtainable for the minority community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to Councilman Wesson and in this committee. My name is Brad Rowe. I'm the CEO of Botech Analysis. We were the first firm hired to work with the government agency on the legalization of cannabis with the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board. I'm also an adjunct professor of public policy for crime, cannabis, and other drugs at the UCLA Luskin School of Public Affairs. I'm a 22-year resident of Los Angeles and the father of a 14-year-old boy. I hope that we'll make decisions that affect public health and public safety based on research and lessons learned from other states. Cannabis use disorder is up 7-fold since the early 90s. Recent studies tell us that young people with greater access to cannabis are increasing their use of alcohol as well. This is of special concern as we've recently learned that more than 1 in 6 young Americans meets criterion for alcoholism. From a study in the Netherlands, we now know that academic performance is improved, especially in mathematics, by reducing access to cannabis. This is of particular concern as LAUSD students to struggle to improve proficiency and graduation rates. We need to improve the standardization of dosage and labeling. A 20-ounce bottle of THC-infused innocuously lemonade can contain 200 milligrams of ingestible THC, enough to send my teenage son and 2 friends to the emergency room. But I would also like to point out that we should increase research, as the city should take a leadership role in promoting research on the potential for cannabis to reduce dependence on opioids for pain management. We have seen reductions of over 50% in opioids in patients on the East Coast.
Thank you. Now, I was sidetracked, man. You got about 17 extra seconds, but I do appreciate you coming in. Andrew, you got me. You must see, Andrew went to UCLA, so I knew there was something up with that. Okay, what I'd like to do now is, just so you guys know, we've already dealt with this many of the public comment cards, and I have at least that many left. So we're going to try to get to as many of those as we can. But again, as I stated earlier, today is history making. This committee has made a recommendation to the full council as to who we believe the executive director should be of this new department. And now we have opportunity to make history again by bringing forward individuals that have demonstrated a commitment to serve. So I'd like all of the commissioners to come forward. There should be enough seats. Oh, I'm looking. I saw you, then I lost you. All right. So what we're gonna do, and it's really cool to look at a table where I actually know some people. But so what I think we do, let's go around the table, members, if that's okay with you. Have everybody identify themselves and give us just a brief bit of their background. You know where I'm starting. No, I won't do that. No, I won't start. So we will start over here with you. If you would have seen the look. Yeah, okay. So you'll be the cleanup. You'll be the cleanup hitter. Please introduce yourself to the rest of the folk.
My name is Rita Villa.
Pull the mic up.
Thank you. My name is Rita Villa, and I'm a certified public accountant with over 40 years of experience in accounting and auditing. My home and office are both in Studio City, although my clients are located throughout California. For many years, I've been on the board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, serving as both its secretary and chair of Government Affairs Committee. In November of 16, I was given the opportunity to be part of the working group organized by Council President Wesson's office to participate in developing the regulatory framework for cannabis. I'm interested in serving on this commission as an extension of that work. The legalization of cannabis for both medical and recreational use at the state level enables the City of Los Angeles to bring this industry out of the shadows and into the mainstream of the business community. Through participation in the working group, I met many serious entrepreneurs operating in different segments of the cannabis industry. The legalization and proper regulation of this industry will enable such entrepreneurs to create jobs and revenue for our city. If confirmed, I hope that my experience in finance and community service will prove an asset to the Commission.
Thank you.
We haven't met. I'm Phil Mercado, and I wish I had a great statement like that prepared, but I don't.
You'll be fine.
I'm sorry?
I said you'll be fine.
Thank you. I am a surgeon that works with the Permanente Medical Group, which is the healthcare provider for the Kaiser Foundation hospitals. I am chief of surgery at my individual hospital, and I oversee the surgical care for our community from Bakersfield down to San Diego. And this is my first commission that I'll be serving on if I am confirmed, and I would love to be able to bring my thoughtfulness and my medical knowledge and my listening skills to this commission.
What facility are you HQ
I'm
at?
chief of surgery in Baldwin Park, which is just east of here.
It's an honor to meet you.
Thank you.
Robert?
Yes.
A person who's no stranger to tough commissions, planning commission, redistricting commission, now this commission. I'll let you.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. President, President Wesson, council members, Harris Dawson, and Weezar. It's such an honor and privilege to be here. I also want to begin by thanking Mayor Garcetti for this appointment. I'm very eager to get back to work on behalf of the city and serve the city. It's a city that I love, a city I was born in and was raised in. And so these are truly, this is a historic opportunity, and we're going to have a lot of challenges. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but with those challenges comes unprecedented opportunities for this city. I look forward to working with my fellow commissioners, with Kat Packer, and the rest of the city family to make sure that we implement a system that works, a system that makes sense, and a system that can be the model for other cities to follow moving forward. So it's a great honor and privilege again to be here, and I'm here to answer any questions.
My marathoner friend, Victor.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Councilmember Wesson, Wizard, and Harris Dawson for this opportunity. I want to thank the Mayor Garcetti as well for this opportunity. I've been here 25 years in Los Angeles now. I actually am from New York. Hope that's not a strike against me, but I've been here 25 years, and I've done, my name is Victor Nato. I work at the UCLA Labor Center, and I'm also a professor. I'm a project director. I'm also a professor at a labor studies program at UCLA, and I teach also. I'm a professor at the law school at UCLA, and for the past 25 years, I worked with many of you. I worked with Councilmember Harris Dawson. We was a community coalition. Councilmember Wizard was one of my interns many years ago when he was a student. But I really committed myself to social justice, economic equality, and really improving the lives of workers here in Los Angeles. We have a vibrant city. With the most diverse city in the whole world, and we learn how to coexist and find solutions to major challenges and problems. And I've been involved with so many different kinds of efforts to improve the lives of immigrants, of African American community, of all communities of color, and also really lift up the working class here in Los Angeles. And this is my third commission. I served at the Police Permit Review Panel for about 6 years, and I really got to know how LAPD functions through that experience. And then I served in the Community Redevelopment Agency for the last 2 years before the agency was dismantled. And I learned a lot about convening, bringing people together. I'm an active listener, so I do listen. I don't just hear people, I listen. I really do try to understand all the different viewpoints, and up to the challenges of really making this industry a vibrant industry for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Misty?
Hi, I'm
I'm Misty Wilkes. I identify as a social justice advocate, educator, attorney, entrepreneur, and serial volunteer, so I guess that makes me appropriate for this. I didn't think that this was anywhere that I would ever be. I got involved in cannabis because of the oversaturation of illegal dispensaries in my community, and I came to the table trying to get the illegal ones shut down. And I'm also a neighborhood council member. I have been for the maybe 5 or 6 years in both Council President Wesson's district and Councilman Harris Dawson's district, and where Crenshaw runs through. And that's how I came to the table. And then when I started talking to the community and listening to the social justice issues, and talking to business owners that wanted to be involved and didn't think that they had access, I thought that this was another industry that I could get involved in and strive to create, or at least advocate for some level of balance between access to resources so that we have things in our community that we do want. So that it doesn't end up being like the liquor stores back in the 90s when I first got involved, I think, in social justice was in 92, following the rebellion, and being one of the youth advocates to try to get rid of things in our community that we didn't want at the time. It's funny thinking about that now, coming from there to here. So I just want to be at the table and hopefully be able to provide a balance, or advocate for a balance between access to what we want, ownership, and oversaturation, trying to create a balance. So that's why I'm here.
You know, this that you would bring up the liquor store issue. When I'm out in the community and we chat, I use that example all of the time. But I do have one question that I'd like for each one of you to take a stab at. And that's usually, and Doc, maybe you in particular, because you're the semi-newbie, so to speak, but usually when we have individuals that come before us, they're going to be appointed to a commission or a committee, we can say to you, well, you know, so-and-so used to be a former member of that committee. Why don't you go talk to him or her and get some tidbits on how they dealt with these issues? This is historic. We don't have anybody that we can recommend that has experience in this issue. How do you think you're going to go about this? I'd like to just, if each one of you could just give me your thoughts. It's not like there's a book. It's not like there's a lot of history. Some of the other cities, I guess you could look to them, but we are LA, and the winds in this country blow from the west to the east, so the world looks at us. Every major city is looking to us. So what are you going to do?
That's a good question, but I think the answer is really listening. And I think that we've heard it tonight with all the people that have come out here. And this is my first hearing for this, but it's been great to be able to see that you guys have seen so many familiar faces that are so passionate about this. And as you said, you know, California leads the nation and LA really leads California. And I think the most important part of it is going to be listening. You know, California has voted. Los Angeles has voted. We need to now make it happen. And I think that as good listeners and thoughtful people, and as Missy said, you know, having that balance of you know, in the community and listening to people, I think it's important. But we have the chance to be able to build this from the ground up. And I think that having 5 commissioners and a person like Kat having all that experience, we're going to be able to do it.
Rita, what you think?
I think I'm going to pray, and I'm going to pray that God gives me the ability to understand the issues that are put before me, and the wisdom to make good decisions with respect to those issues, and to look to the experience of other states that have already begun to approach this issue, and we had the opportunity through some of your hearings to hear from those individuals, and that's where I will be looking to gain additional knowledge.
Cool. Misty?
I think we listen to them. I mean,
Into the mic.
I feel like we listen to them. I think that's our first step, is to listen. When I started coming to the hearings, it was to hear what they wanted and what, you know, collectively, I think we can create a solution.
Okay, Victor?
Yeah, I think there's so much knowledge just in this space that we have today, and this is just people who were able to make it tonight and I think this industry really connects a lot of people together, and it's really taking the time to listen, having the patience within ourselves that, you know, this is a new department and we're going to learn together, we're going to grow together, and we're going to make mistakes together, but we're going to overcome challenges together.
Robert, to close.
Yeah, you know, I want to approach it the same way I have all my life, just bringing a common sense approach, understanding what the issues are. And there are so many competing interests in particular in this space. And the challenge, I believe, for the city is going to be able to somehow bring all that together in the aggregate and somehow synthesize a solution and a regulatory system that makes sense for the city. Now, I don't think there's a need to reinvent the wheel. Now, we have other cities and other jurisdictions that have already tackled this task. And I believe that we can look at those both from the sense of what did they do right, but also what did they do wrong. And we can incorporate best practices for the city of LA and custom tailor it to our needs and our objectives.
Okay, members, any other questions? Then you good? Okay, so Mr. Clerk, on items 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, we will, without objection, recommend these appointments to the Cannabis Commission to the full City Council at tomorrow's meeting at 10 a.m. It's approved. Congratulations. And Mr. Clerk, before I forget, what we want to do, and then I'll give you, if you need this in writing, you know, we want to instruct the city clerk's office to send a letter to the planning department that states that the rural committees supports a permit and licensing system and allow for type 7 manufacturing. Okay, so unless, without objection, that will be the order. So I would like to get that. I already sent the letter from me. I want them to get the letter from the committee. So that's already done. This committee has taken a vote on that, all ayes. All right, unanimous vote. Let's take some more public comment. And we'll start off with Pablo Granja. Melody, is it Luton? Or is that a W? Robert Shala? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Pablo Grancha, and I'm a resident of Council District 7. As a co-owner of a pre-ICO collective, the following issues are very important to me: the immediate and fair provisional license processes, the access to banking services, and establishing a viable social equity program. In particular, zoning rules that are in line with the state rules are important to me, as our collective sits on agricultural residential zone, a mixed zone, that has been a mixed light cultivation site since 1960. They were growing orchids and poinsettias back then, and we switched to cannabis about 3 years ago. Finally, safety, including fighting for the illicit marketplace and the use of solvent for safely extraction the medicinal cannabis, are of most important to the success of this new nascent industry. When we, the people of Los Angeles, voted for you, we trusted that you have the ability to create responsible legislation. We expected that you will use the scientific method to discuss the issues that involve science and the use of the best business practices.
Thank you. Thank you. If I could have the next speakers, and then after, I believe it's Robert, Donnie Anderson, Anya Titova, and is it Throne Smith? Yes, identify yourself.
Good evening. My name is Melanie Lutheran. I'm an attorney at Schwartz Steinsapier. We are counsel to UFCW Local 770. Congratulations to Ms. Packer and all the commission appointees here today. We are here to ask, in part, that the council allow the commissioners and Kat to be the experts that we know they can be, and to allow them to retain authority over all aspects of cannabis-related approvals, including land use consistency and zoning compliance. To do this, the ordinance authorizing the commission will need to be amended to grant them the authority to be the one-stop shop, so to speak. Also, we ask that the city offer the same transitional job security protections as provided in the grocery worker retention ordinance to cannabis industry workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Robert Slela. I am a researcher at USC, now working with Local 770. First, I want to thank you, Council President, and for your leadership, Council members Harris, Dawson, and Weezar for your pursuit of these issues, and in particular, pursuit around social equity, which is why I'm here to speak today after many years of sitting and listening to these hearings and talking to many of the folks in this room and learning their wisdom. If the city wants to create a social equity program that is robust and matches its critical goals, it must look to other models and examples, and so it must match licensing opportunities with a strong CBO-based program, a pilot incubator, coaching, and support with capital and land acquisition. It must also include a robust workforce development program that places, trains, and retrains transitional workers from the affected communities. And it must reduce future harms by including a decriminalization program for 18 to 21-year-olds, Youth Know Your Rights curriculum, and expungement programs. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you for having us. What's up, Marquise? All right, Council President, look up. No, I'm just saying. Hey, I just wanted to say thank you for having us again this evening. But here's an issue that we haven't spoke on: special needs families. We deal with a lot of special needs family. I work with Miko Perez, who's part of the autism. And I just put her up there. Reginald Jones Sawyer is going to champion the bill for her up there in the state with Lori Ajax and Stephen Woods. We haven't dealt with this. We have kids that has epilepsies. We need to make sure that they can get treatment. I had the chair of the Epilepsy Foundation reach out to me yesterday. These are issues that's not being heard about, and we need to make sure we deal with these. In our community, we have children with special needs, and we need to make sure that it's worked on.
No, I understand. And I understand and agree. Let's be real, there's a lot of work yet to do. I think we're moving. I'm proud of where we are.
Yep.
I think we're moving in the right direction. I'm proud of the pace. And but there's, this is the beginning, it's not the end.
Right.
So if I could get the next speaker. And then I'm looking for Walter Edwards Lance. Marcy, is it Luke's? Yes, identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Anya Titova. I'm a UCLA Master of Public Policy student and an intern with the California Minority Alliance. I wanted to advocate on behalf of the model that the California Minority Alliance has released for the social equity program. This model includes metrics for both a disadvantage index and an applicant preference index. The disadvantage index is meant to address socioeconomic barriers faced by applicants through measures like family income, applicant native language, prior arrests relating to cannabis after medical legalization. And then the applicant preference index is premised on the TACPA Community Economic Distress Revitalization Program, including residency requirements, contribution of at least 0.5% of annual budget to community beautification, full insurance of no less than $2 million, and certified intent to hire at least 35% employees with high risk of unemployment. The full statement is on the website.
Thank you. Thank you. So, again, I'm looking for Walter Edwards Lance, Marcy, Aaron Justice, Ken Jones. When I call your name, please make it up. Okay, go on, sir.
Yeah, Thorne Smith, part of the California Minority Alliance, speaking to the social equity piece. I'm thinking that in preparing for the application process, compliant locations is very challenging. I was thinking that as part of the social equity, you may want to make city-owned buildings available as part of this process.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next. Ken Jones, Carolyn, I think it's Carolyn Trader. Guys, I'm trying to get everybody in, so if I called your name, please come to the center. Gilbert Mora. Yes, sir. You are?
Aaron Justice from Buds and Roses, a Prop D dispensary. First, I'd like to thank you, President.
My favorite names. Okay,
Thank you. I'd like to thank you, President Wesson, and your colleagues for your commitment to this process. I know you want this industry to succeed here, and so do all of us. Unfortunately, the current draft ordinance is unworkable as written. The most important change, I believe, is the city must make is to offer us an actual license, like everyone else in the state. We have already struggled for a decade plus, operating our businesses in an unstable and dangerous climate. We need to put that chaos behind us and move forward by offering stability to our businesses. This will lead to actual investment into our businesses, which will provide more jobs and tax revenue for the city. By treating us as criminals that you are simply tolerating through a limited immunity scheme, you are stripping all confidence any investors may have in investing what could easily be the largest local market for cannabis in the United States if done correctly. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Ken Jones, and I'm treasurer of the California Minority Alliance. First of all, I would like to commend the efforts of Council President Herb Wesson, this committee, the council, along with the performance that you have done related to situating LA as the leader in this cannabis industry. Okay. Now, one of our primary focuses that we're doing with the California Minority Alliance is the proponent of the social equity program. And we proposed a model to the city that's in the public comments section that has components of it that are race, gender, and ethnicity neutral. And they're tied to the socioeconomic indexes that the city uses for preferential upstepping related to contracts and other points, okay? So we're very interested that you take advantage to look and review that, and we thank you for your time.
We're going to look at everything. Be assured of that. And let me say this. I'm going to try to get to everybody. If let's say you spoke already, you think of something else, send us a letter, send us a note. All of that will go into the record. We're going to, I think, digest what we've heard from you again, and then we'll meet, and there may be other recommendations. I know that Mr. Harris Dawson and Mr. Weezer are working on some things. So please, any ideas, any suggestions, get it to the Rules Committee, get it to us as soon as possible. Please identify yourself, sir.
My name is Gilbert Mora. I am a public health professional here in LA. I want to commend the board here for very common sense public health things you did put into the draft. I appreciate very much. I mean, the group that we have here, it was all business. But I noticed that you did actually listen and you did actually put stuff in, and I appreciate it very much. I just wish that there was someone from public health representative in the commission to get that perspective on board too.
We had a doctor.
Huh?
A chief surgeon.
He's not public health. He's health.
Well, we do the best we can with what we got. Give him back his time. I'm sorry to interrupt.
There's a big difference. I work in the prevention, so public health involves, environmental things, not medical things. So, I want to offer the board my card so that they can actually maybe consult me on some of these things if they need any kind of information on that stuff.
Thank you very much. Please, Sergeant, we have a sergeant, if we could get his card. We're all in this together. We're going to all have to stay together. We're going to all continue. When we do finish with the regulations, this is not over. This is going to be a constant process. This issue will stay in the Rules Committee. We have a lot of work yet to do.
And I want to thank you for your comment as well. I think the public health issue is very important. And in case you weren't at the hearing, a representative from the County Department of Public Health indicated that they would be conducting a range of activities in all the cities in LA County that had a formal policy. And so I will point you to the LA County Department of Health. I'm certainly going to be watching very, very closely for the data they collect, the trends that they're able to document, and the recommendations that they make to the various cities in the county.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Harris Dawson makes a good point. Throughout this hearing process, we've tried to do it all. We've had panels that have included the industry folk. We've had panels that have included community people. We've had folk from testing labs. We've had the health department come in. We've had the different states and cities. So we have attempted to reach out to as many folks as we can, and that's not going to stop. Yes, ma'am.
Hopefully I'll be very brief. Thank you. I'm a resident of Harris Dawson's district. Woo-woo. I just wanted to share with you a thought, and it may have, pardon me?
Name.
Carolyn, Trader, like Trader Joe's.
I got you now. Go on.
Great. One of the things I thought I'd like to share is that we might want to consider instituting kind of a learning and development series. And perhaps, I think it's also been mentioned, maybe some licensures, so to speak, relative to like the insurance industry or the real estate industry. You know, years ago, you didn't used to have licenses for that, or training and learning and development, or credit hours. And so that would benefit both parties in terms of levels of competency, and then also that they've earned credit hours in learning, and it also creates a revenue basis. Hello, revenue, we love that. And so at the end of a series of courses within this industry, they would have some sort of certificate identifying that the fact that they know the knowledge of the businesses what they're in. Thank you.
Thank you. Melanie Toe, Melanie Tu, Noel, there's a Marilyn, can't quite make out the last name, Katie Podine, Yelena from the UCBA. Just start coming up. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Melanie Cho from Behavioral Health Services. I'm a public health professional, and I want to thank you for your hard work for making these proposed regulations. I can see, based on reading the regulations, that you have considered the community at heart, their welfare, their safety, and their health. And I hope that you will continue to consider the community, and I know you've already mentioned it. And as a public health professional, I think it is also important for these businesses to get licenses so it is better regulated in our city. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Noel Marine. I am also a public health professional, and I greatly appreciate all the public health and safety measures that have been put into this ordinance. And I encourage you to continue with this if you make any amendments or changes to this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Alan Miller. I think it's an Edith Shin. Yes, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Katie Podine, and I'm legal counsel for UCBA. I'm here to talk to you about the hearings and appeals process. And we request that the public hearing process should be clearly outlined in the ordinance and modeled after the public hearing principles found throughout the city code. The proposed requirements should streamline the public hearing process by giving the department the ability to approve license types with less impact on the communities, such as indoor cultivation, nursery, and distribution. The city should also eliminate the public hearing process for applicants eligible for priority processing under Prop M, who have been operating in substantial compliance with limited immunity and tax provisions of Prop D. These applicants should be approved by the Commission without public hearing, but still subject to appeal. If after the issuance of a license, the city or state cites a Prop D dispensary for violation of the law, a public hearing will be triggered at renewal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Good evening, Yelena Kachko, counsel for UCBA. It's important that the ordinance includes a clear timeline for processing of licenses and that the licensing processing starts on November 1st, 2017. It's also important that the ordinance includes a vehicle for provisional licenses so that there could be a continued so that the current businesses are able to continue serving patients in the city, and then the businesses are able to apply for state licensing in January. There should be provisional licenses for priority M eligible applicants, who are those businesses, existing dispensaries operating with a 2016 or 17 BTRC, and in substantial compliance with the limited immunity and tax provision of Proposition D. These businesses should be granted provisional licenses for the activity being conducted at their location as identified in their original BTRC or the amended BTRC, which is also mandated in Prop M. Provisional licenses should be also granted to social equity applicants based on the social equity criteria provided by the city.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And thank you very much for being so gracious. My name is Alan Miller. I'm the director of a workers' compensation approved cannabis treatment program for chronic pain and opioid dependency. I'm in 5 states. We have 10,000 patients here in California alone, mainly in this city. We'd like to obviously see this so we were able to use doctors and recruit doctors without recrimination to treat our patients. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Doug Fitzsimmons. Is it Jadili Johnson? Lucas. Fanny Guzman. Gabriel Guzman. And Reginald Edwards. Yes, Doug.
Thank you. My name is Doug Fitzsimmons. I'm president of the South Robertson Neighborhoods Council, also chair of the Westside Regional Alliance of Councils. I'd just like to take a moment and thank you all for your leadership in bringing us to this moment. It's been a long, long road, and one that I'm personally happy to see finally come to fruition. Our neighborhood council has a community impact statement filed. I won't go into it in detail, but I will say that it is the first of a growing number of Westside neighborhood councils who are calling on the city to have a positive, streamlined approval process that goes to a actual license. This is critical. The neighborhood councils and the city of Los Angeles needs a system that encourages legal dispensaries, legal sales, legal manufacturing in this city, and that is the cornerstone of that process. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please identify yourself.
My name is Jadili Damu. I represent Africans nationwide, especially those that are native to Los Angeles. We take a position that we don't feel like we need licensing since we're native to the area we're doing business at, especially if we're not hurting anybody. But if we are to abide by the color of law and the licensing under the color of law, not the original law of the land, then we want to make sure that the police are abiding by the law as well, and there are not so many DA rejects, and then money is taken, cannabis is taken. You know, that is a plant for the healing that grows wild on all 7, 5, or 6 continents, however you classify it. So to put any kind of regulations or licensing is kind of crazy on a natural plant. Most people that are disenfranchised by the war on a natural plant, not a war on a drug, those people aren't here to speak, and those people aren't here and able to say and speak their piece on how many people they've helped and how much they've had to pay to help these people. So those people should have first priority on anything.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Lucas. I'm the founder and executive director of Color Cannabis. I'm here today to thank you, Mr. President, and the rest of the council members for your dedication to the social equity program. I think earlier Mr. Dawson mentioned how when we met with Colorado, and they somewhat kind of implied that maybe we would have problems with compliance, and we would have, with the equity program, we might have problems with compliance. We might have problems with getting money. So I went out and I found stakeholders who are ready to bring money in right now. One of my biggest partners is a guy named Keith Stevenson from the Purple Heart Patient Center. And he has initiatives where, like, he donated $100,000 to the city for gun buyback in Oakland. And we believe that, I've worked with Freeway Rick Ross, that we want to convince our community that we got to follow the rules and we can get the money. So please do not let these people talk you out of the social equity program.
Thank you. Okay. Next. Fanny.
Hi, my name is Fanny Guzman. I'm here representing Latinos for Cannabis. As you can see, most of the people that have passed up, a very small percentage were Latinos. So here I am,
Well, we're glad you're
speaking
here.
on behalf of my people, even with a shaking voice, so
Relax,
forgive
it's
me.
all right. You're at home.
I am a Los Angeles resident, and I'm here to represent Latinos for Cannabis. I want to emphasize the need to allow an inclusive industry. There is a dire need to make licensing accessible and attainable by people of color, giving us an opportunity to become legitimate stakeholders by building equity and benefiting from the economic empowerment made possible through the burgeoning cannabis industry. I ask and implore for your help to bring about justice and reparations to the group of people who have suffered and continue to suffer the most from the war on drugs. Latinos currently represent the largest minority in the United States and majority in California. Despite these facts, we continue to endure social, political, and economic marginalization.
Does the guy behind you, are you related? Do you know this fella? Maybe. Yes, sir.
Guys. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to speak with you guys. My name is Gabriel Guzman. I am the co-founder of Latinos for Cannabis. We focus mainly on educating our community on the medicinal, social, and economic benefits that cannabis has to offer our community. I'm particularly concerned, first and foremost, like Fanny said a little bit earlier, I want to reiterate what she said. You know, there's a lot of talk about equity and inclusion and diversity, but I'm concerned that in spite of all this conversation, how many of Latinos are actually sitting on these board of directors, you know, and I just want to make sure that there is going to be a clear pathway for Latinos in particular and minorities to be able to participate. I'd like to see more dialogue, more conversation about what the application fees are going to look like, making sure that we don't have those economic hardships in order to participate. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, and know that we share your concern. All you have to do is look at us, okay? And I think you know this is an important priority for us. Reginald, Edward, Sherry, Franklin, Maribel Garcia. If I call you, come on. Nick Pacheco. Don't wait, Sherry, just come on. Don't be looking. Jana Khan or Kane, come on.
Hello, my name is Cherie Franklin, and thank you so much, Council President and Councilman Weezar and Harris Dawson, for your leadership. And thanks for doubling down with Kat Packer and commissioners like Misty. Based on our original conversation with you many months ago, my partner Danny Shaker and I, we launched Think and Grow Lab to make sure that we have a forum to help train and provide opportunities to persons who have experienced had past experiences with the war on drugs and looking for opportunity to take advantage of this new green economy. So we launched it at the Lacretz Innovation Center, and we've also acquired a 160,000 square foot building in Councilman Weezar's district to be able to provide training and have an opportunity for social equity qualified persons to launch their business. And we have a social enterprise facility. And me, as a person, a spook sitting by the door, I'm here to make sure the information gets back to my community. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to say this. I want to say this real quick. Nick, I didn't know that it was you. This is a colleague of ours, former member of this council, who just quietly sat in the back, filled out a card, didn't write a note on it telling me who he was, because we would have pulled you up. So go ahead.
Thank you for that, but yes, just like anyone else, I'm here in line. I'm here as an individual, as a resident of Bow Heights, as a patient, as someone who was actually kind of disappointed on the proposed regulations from this standpoint. Proposition D right now is in place. It may not be the best, it may need refinement, but it's in place. So there was something to regulate the industry, and yet there was no social equity program in place right now. The social equity program should have been a priority, should have been number one. Everything should have been put aside for the social equity program to be on the top of the list of being regulated, on top of the list of being offered to the community, so that the disenfranchised will be a part of this immediately and not have to be postponed for some other process, because that's what we're asking for, that's what we need. And stop saying legalize marijuana. It's decriminalized. It's a God-given plant. It's not legalizing it. We're decriminalizing something that some other individuals thought would be criminal. The last point I want to make is if you're worried about any sort of constitutional challenge to the social equity program, make it economic-based. Don't make it race-based. Make it based on the income levels, on the poor communities, because overwhelmingly those are communities of color. Thank you.
Thank you, and it's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Okay, so do I have Maribel or Jana? And I'm looking for Raphael. Is it Bernardino Jr., John J.J. Jenkins? Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I'm Jana Khan. I'm a native Los Angeles. My third generation was just born a day after my birthday, Los Angelino. I'm hoping and I'm congratulating you guys on actually the city of Los Angeles doing something correct and appointing Kat Packard, who I can't thank you guys enough for actually doing something right in the city of Los Angeles. And all these years I've been watching you guys do something wrong. What I'd really like to impress upon you people is that people like me are part of your social equity program. I'm Jewish, I'm gay, I'm a woman, I'm self-financed. I've been persecuted by the police doing this and not ever making a good living at it because I'm so persecuted by the police just to treat people. I want to know, are you going to do anything similar to any of the other cities in this state that have figured out licensing? All over the state, they have licensing except for in Los Angeles.
Okay. I think we got on record indicating that that's where we were going to go, but maybe you didn't hear me. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Raphael Bernardino, and I was formerly pension commissioner and former police commissioner of this great city. I'm here to speak against the 800-foot barrier because I believe the unintended consequence of this barrier will be to exclude and limit the ability of minorities, women, and disabled persons to enter the market. I set forth my reasons in my July 12th letter to this honorable committee, and I urge Council members Harris Dawson, Huizar, and Director Packer to review it at their opportunity. Mr. President, not all unintended consequences are bad. Your proposal in terms of what's so-called the Bank of Cannabis is marvelous. When I was pension commissioner during the height of the economic crisis, I proposed a similar Bank of Los Angeles. If the natural result of President Wesson's proposal will revolutionize municipal finance in this country, and the logical result could benefit every person who lives in a big city in America. So I wholeheartedly support that and support it to its logical conclusion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Yes, sir.
Hi there. My name is JJ Jenkins. I own the
gotcha.
Vapor Spot. Basically, we've got a lot of businesses coming up. They're going to have cannabis. What we don't have is any place to recreationally consume this cannabis. That's going to be a real issue. If we look at other states, they've dropped the ball. They've got it wrong more often than not. Some places have edibles only. Some places have bring your own. Right now in the city of Los Angeles, we have an answer for an upcoming problem, which is safe access. If you know what that is, it's people living in apartment complexes, public housing, etc. They are able, by law, to consume this cannabis, but you know what? There's no place to go. Smoking cannabis indoors is a bad thing, leads to secondhand smoke, obviously not allowed in businesses either. Right now in the city of Los Angeles, you have an answer for this. Currently, vapor lounges are allowed inside the city of Los Angeles, just like cigar lounges and hookah lounges have a vaporizing indoor allowance. What we'd like to do is see the existing vapor lounges, perhaps a variance would just allow them to do business as they already are.
Thank you. Did you want to say something, Mr. Harrison?
If I understand this correctly, it's only smoking that apartment owners can ban. All the other forms cannot be banned by an apartment owner. Am I right about that?
Right now, indoor vaporization is the only thing in the state of California that is not condemned by the public health department for use of cannabis. If you smoke a joint, if you have a pipe, if you have some other form, and you live in a place where you have neighbors up and around you, you cannot consume it. You have to go where? Outdoors.
What if you have
to be
a cookie?
Public nuisance.
What if you have a cookie?
Lot. Pardon me?
What if you have a cookie or a brownie?
Well, obviously that's not going to produce much smoke unless you do it wrong.
Thank you. That was my only question.
Okay.
Okay.
Vaporization is the answer.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I think this is the fourth time. We got a long way to go. A lot of work to do. We're going to have to address those issues. If you guys were at some of the other hearings, you would see that we asked every other jurisdiction how they're going to address that very issue. So we are trying to get as much information as we can. I don't have any more cards, okay? Then, sir, just don't panic. Come on. But what's your name? I think I called you. Nope, you know what? There's your card.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Anybody else? Then, no, you got to trust me on this one. You're going to be the last guy up. All right, go ahead.
Mr. President, council members, I'm commenting on the non-retail registry processing provision. As written in the draft, this section provides priority application processing to certain cultivation and manufacturing businesses, but not to distribution businesses. The provision should be revised to include distribution businesses. Under the state's regulatory program, the distributor plays an essential role in the cannabis value chain. Cannabis must pass through a distributor prior to entering a licensed retailer. And the distributor is responsible for ensuring that the product is properly tested, labeled, and therein plays a vital role in ensuring the health and safety of the community. Without providing distribution applicants the same access to priority processing as manufacturing and cultivation businesses, the city risks making it challenging for the value chain to operate as the state wishes, making it
Finish your sentence.
Making it difficult for retailers to obtain cannabis and driving up the cost of distribution, which impacts everyone.
Thank you. Okay. Sarah, even though I'd love to have you come up here, I enjoy talking to you a lot. We were able to get you in, even if it was on the executive director item, but we got you in. So this closes the public hearing at this time, okay? Now what we will do, we're going to hold this item in committee, like I said earlier. We're going to take statements and we'll factor in everything that was said tonight. If any of you guys want to submit any letters or recommendations, please feel free to do that. We'll probably meet again, I don't want to say in the next 2 weeks, but it won't be long, and we'll get together. We'll talk about some of the things that we said today. So with that said, is there any more business, Mr. Clerk, before this body? Mr. Weezar, did you want to say something as we were?
Just procedurally, I wanted to be clear that we're going to hold the items, so any proposed amendments we could still
Yes.
do at the next meeting.
Yeah, because it's my understanding that you may have some, and Mr. Harris Dawson. So we're going to hold that, look at the information. Hopefully I'll have all of your stuff by then, and we'll sort it through.
That's good. And my other question is, I have some questions with respect to the land use issues, and just to assure that some of those procedures that are in place now in the new department or commission, that we kind of look at those more intently. And so I'll hold my questioning for the next meeting on that.
Why don't we make sure we bring somebody from the department. So if you mention your staff talks to Andrew, we'll make sure that happens.
Thank you.
Go on.
Yeah. Also, Mr. President, we're very concerned. I join Mr. Weezar in having questions about the land use activity, but I'm also extremely concerned about something that our new director actually brought to our attention about the loophole for people who are between the ages of 18 and 20. Right now, there's Prop 64 gives a provision for people under 18, and it gives a provision for people over 21. It essentially leaves existing law in place for people 18 to 20. So I'd love to have someone from law enforcement somewhere that can talk to us about that and what we're going to do here in the city of LA.
No, that makes sense. In fact, any of the concerns that you guys have, I mean, you know, I'm pleased with the pace, but there's still several things that we have to deal with. So the sooner I get those from you, then we can figure out. I'd like to deal with those concerns the next hearing. So with that said, I want to congratulate Ms. Packard on the recommendation from this committee. I want to congratulate our commissioners. I'm certain you're going to be able to do the job. And with that said, in fact, Mr. Clerk, I'm going to let you say it. I am empowering you. So say it. Say it.
This meeting is adjourned.
All right. Thank you all for coming. Drew, you got everything?